What is it with modern Christians just being overtly toxic, no matter what the topic or the subject it is? Also, another thing that confuses me is when Christians sit there and try to shit on atheists or atheism by literally describing their own position. If you don't know what I mean, we're going to get to that in this video. Today, we have somebody who's apparently a bodybuilder who is trying to connect this whole idea of masculine weakness or weakness in general, like your strength, to atheism, saying that atheists are weak-minded, and weak in the body. He thinks that if you become a Christian, then you're going to be more emotionally stronger, and you will also want to lift weights, or you should lift weights if you are a Christian. I'm not exactly sure what he's trying to get at in this video. Maybe you can help me out. So if you want to fuck around and find out how all atheists are just weaklings with Olive Garden bread arms, then please stay tuned. What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Like I said, this video is going to be very toxic, and more specifically, it's toxic masculinity that is rearing its head in a lot of the Christian dude bros that I see online, and I guess maybe in real life. They honestly want to tie this whole notion of being a strong masculine man to being a Christian. Like, that's one of the qualities of being a Christian, is that you're a strong, capable, masculine man. And so they're trying to set this tone of, you know, what it means to be a real man, or to be manly in general, or to set a status quo for what it means to be a man, which includes being Christian as well as lifting weights. I don't know. We're going to get into this video and see why this guy is doing this. It seems to just be to invigorate people to get into weightlifting, but he's doing it in some of the most toxic ways possible. So, all right, let's start this toxically masculine shit up.
I'm sure you've heard it said that belief in God is a crutch, or faith is for weak people.
Okay, I get it. So basically this guy has heard, or he's seen atheists say that belief in God is a crutch, or that faith is for the weak-minded or weak people in general. So maybe he's trying to combat against that. I feel like, you know, just directly dealing with those statements, instead of trying to expose how toxically masculine you actually are, I feel like that would be the better option. Just dealing with those ideas right there and show how it's not a crutch to be religious, and it's not weak to have faith. I would much rather hear about those things. But in any case, I don't think that belief in God is necessarily an indication of being weak in any kind of sense. Now, I do think that people can use religion as a crutch. I think that plenty of people out there do, and if people need that for the time being, or for whatever reason, I mean, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with somebody needing religion in one way or another, whether that's as a crutch or otherwise. It's only when those people try to suggest that, well, you need God in your life, so you need to be a Christian. And that comes in many forms, like dogging atheism or anything of that nature. So, I mean, it's only when religious people start making these attacks against opposing positions do I really have a problem, and wouldn't necessarily come out and say belief in God is a crutch, but I could definitely show you how your belief in a God is deficient in some kind of way. But if you're really looking to get anywhere in a discussion with anybody, I wouldn't suggest using these things. Sure, maybe you think that they're funny, but I think that as far as interacting with another individual, saying these things are just going to close them off to you, and I wouldn't suggest doing it.
But have you also noticed that atheism is extremely common in weak men, both mentally and physically?
I don't understand this connection here. Like, how is he gauging what it means to be a weak person, or in this case, a weak man, because he's apparently misogynistically thinking that only men are going to be pumping iron or can be weak or something like that. I feel like this idea, this toxic masculinity and this misogyny that is rearing its head right here, I feel like that is definitely ingrained in Judeo-Christian teachings, because obviously I feel like it's obvious at this point. This guy is part of the Christian dude bros, or these more traditional Christians, at least more traditional than the progressive Christians that also exist now. He thinks that women like shouldn't be in the gym, or at least they shouldn't be lifting weights in the way that he wants people to lift weights. And very obviously in this video, he's just got all dudes. It's a total sausage fest in this home gym based out of Texas. I think it's pretty obvious here, toxically masculine, a bit misogynistic, but I don't think that that's necessarily his fault. I think that it's ingrained in his belief system that he has just kind of gone along with. Whether or not he was a Christian from any time when he was young and his parents made him be Christian, or if he's flip-flopped and become an atheist at one point or whatever, the whole idea of this misogyny is baked into Judeo-Christianity. The whole misogynistic aspect of Christian beliefs and Christian teachings is deeply baked into the faith. But still, I would really love to know how he gauges what it means to be a weak person in general. And why does he think that atheism is deeply coupled with weakness? Because I don't see atheism that way. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Christians are weaker than atheists because I was brave enough to become an atheist. But I will say that it doesn't take a lot of bravery to become a Christian. Like in this day and age, when a majority of people in the United States are Christian in some kind of way, or at least believe in God in some kind of way, it makes becoming a Christian or being a Christian and going to church and all this other stuff, that is all really easy. I definitely think it's harder to be an atheist and to maintain that position, to defend your position, and also to be openly atheist in fucking Texas. So I don't know what he means by weakness, or that atheists are weak. It seems to me like it takes somebody of a stronger conviction to maintain being an atheist, or to maintain defending their position as an atheist, and to become an atheist, to leave the faith. That is what takes conviction. That is what takes strength. It literally takes nearly no strength to become a Christian.
Why is that? And which comes first, the atheism or the weakness?
They're not related to one another. You've also haven't defined how you're gauging weakness. You haven't defined what you mean by either emotional weakness, psychological weakness, physical weakness, which I guess that he would denote by how much you can lift. I feel like this guy right here would seriously ask you, do you even lift? Where's leg day, buddy?
Well, the nihilism that comes from atheism doesn't exactly sell gym memberships.
Well, first of all, atheism and nihilism are two separate concepts. Maybe nihilists don't believe in God, but that doesn't mean that nihilism comes from atheism. But also I have to ask, how is Christianity safeguarded from nihilism, or from a Christian becoming a nihilist or being a nihilist? Because if you actually think about Christian theology says that none of this matters, right? Like nothing in this life matters. The only thing that matters is the afterlife. So why is it that atheism is deeply coupled to nihilism, or that nihilism comes from atheism, when it seems like you could just as easily justify that nihilism comes from Christianity, being that none of this actually matters. It doesn't matter whether or not you follow the laws of man. It only matters whether or not you follow God's law. Nothing of fleshly matters, as Paul would describe a lot of different things, actually matters. It's only matters of the spirit that actually matter. In terms of nihilism and what he's thinking of as nihilism, meaning that nothing here matters or anything like that because one reason or another, I feel like on Christianity, certain views of Christianity, this whole idea of an apocalypse is coming and all that, so none of this actually matters, I feel like you could totally base nihilism on Christianity, because Christianity literally says none of this shit matters. So you understand what I'm talking about here from the very beginning of this video, when it's like, why do Christians try to shit on atheism, but then end up describing their own fucking worldview? And that seems to be what this guy is doing in the video.
Why bother when you can just argue online all day while your arms turn into Olive Garden breadsticks?
And there goes the Olive Garden breadsticks. Let's just follow this logic here. Nihilists, according to him, don't care about anything. All of this fleshly shit doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Our actions don't matter or anything like that. So they don't go to a gym. Why would that same individual decide to go home and argue on the internet? For nihilists, if none of this shit matters, then arguing with another person online is still not going to fucking matter. And again, the whole Olive Garden bread arm thing, that's just more toxic masculinity springing forth from this guy. Whether he knows it or not, it's definitely toxically masculine. It doesn't really matter if you have spaghetti arms or anything like that. Like, that is not a sign of being a weak person. I mean, maybe you're not physically strong. That doesn't mean that you're weak, like weak-willed, weak-minded, weak emotionally. There are plenty of people out there that are not very muscular. They are what he would consider a weak person, that are so emotionally strong. It puts this guy to shame. They put me to shame. I'm not saying that I'm any different. They would put me to shame, because I would say that there are several instances where I'm emotionally weak and psychologically weak. But those are things that I have to deal with. Those are things that I choose to take on every day, which maybe offsets that weakness. I don't really know. I don't know why I'm trying to sit here and like philosophically determine like this whole weakness shit. Like, this is just toxic masculinity rearing its head out of Christianity.
I suspect it's actually the other way around most of the time, with the weakness coming before the atheism.
Oh, okay. So you are a weak person to start with. Even when you're a Christian, you're a weak person, and then you become an atheist, and therefore you are weak. You continue to be weak. Atheism is a product of weakness for him. This makes sense with him being a Christian dude, bro, though. Again, more toxic masculinity, but also he's trying to deeply couple this idea of believing in his particular version of Christianity with being a strong person in general. I'm guessing he's trying to draw these two things because he obviously runs some kind of bodybuilding ministry. And so to him, those things are deeply coupled. Like, to be strong in Christ is to be physically and emotionally and mentally strong in life. Okay, fine if you want to see it that way. I still think that it takes a much stronger individual to critically examine the claims of Christianity, come to their own conclusions, and then reject those ideas because they're dumb as fuck. Magic cannot be proven. Or at least it hasn't been proven yet. And we don't have any good methods in which to prove magic because magic exists outside of the realm of reality. So yes, it takes a much stronger-willed person to reject the most commonly held belief in the world and maintain that they don't believe that, even in the face of people all the time, dude bros included, saying that you can't have a moral foundation. You are a morally weak person because you don't believe in God. You're talking about the God that ordered the Israelites to go capture young virgin girls and force them into marriages, which is by definition sexual slavery. That's the God. Like, you want to be a strong person, follow that God, because he's not taking shit from nobody and he rapes women. Like, what the fuck, dude?
And let me say, I was one of these weak atheists. Look at this guy.
Oh, all of this is okay because he used to be a weak atheist too. Didn't you see his fucking Olive Garden arms? I don't see weakness in that photo. I mean, he looked like he was chillaxing. He looked like he didn't have a 2x4 shoved up his ass by Christ. I mean, he seemed like a pretty chill dude. I don't see anything wrong with that. And you also don't have to be like super buff and work out 6 times a week, lift 250 pounds or some kind of bullshit. That's just ridiculous. And this also plays into the whole idea I have of Christians who proclaim to be former atheists, which he's got a picture of himself wearing an atheist shirt. I don't know if that necessarily proves that he was an atheist. He could have been wearing that shirt sarcastically or something like that. I don't really know. Let's, just for the sake of argument, assume that he was an atheist. Fine, he was an atheist. But when he became a Christian, he obviously put on those Christ-colored glasses and looked at his past and he saw weakness. And that's how he chooses to see it today. So he's definitely very biased in how he's critiquing his former self. Now he's preferring to view that as weak, as this sort of, story of becoming something bigger and stronger, leaner, dude broier.
So I'm really just picking on my old self. Let's picture a hypothetical weak guy. He's low on the totem pole and looking to climb. accountability to God is a burden he'd rather avoid.
Accountability to God is a burden he would rather not carry. Are you fucking serious right now? First of all, this accountability to God is quite bullshit, because God just tells you what he likes and what he doesn't like, and you are to follow those rules. That is the easiest fucking thing that you could possibly do, is just, you know, that's what God likes, so that's good. It has no connection to morality whatsoever. And it has no connection to being a strong individual. And more importantly, it has no connection to accountability. I mean, sure, he's holding himself accountable to what his God likes, right? But is that really the important thing here? Like, is it really that important to hold yourself accountable to what that psychopath wants? You're trying to tell me that it's hard to be accountable to somebody that chose to flood the entire earth, killing men, women, babies, all of those innocent people. And not only that, but he's elected to kill random people throughout time for literally no reason. You want us to be held accountable to that God? You actually think that it's hard for us to get a kill order from God, look at him with a crazy ass look on our face and be like, nah, bro, this ain't it. Like, seriously, this is ridiculous. Atheists are held accountable to their family, friends, the community that they exist within, the society they exist within. They're held accountable in multiple different ways that matter more than your God's fucking feelings.
He knows that lying and manipulating others can be quite useful, as long as he doesn't get caught.
Again, projection to 9,000 here, because Christian pastors, priests, preachers, and all them are known to lie to their congregants about things. I mean, they lie to people in order to commit various what they would call sins. I would classify as objectively immoral actions. They lie and they do these things all the time because they're already forgiven. They believe in Jesus, they suck his dick, and they get to go to heaven. They're not held accountable to any kind of ideas of morality. They're only held accountable to whatever God likes. And in Christianity, what God likes is for you to believe in Jesus, ask for forgiveness of your sins, because everybody sins. Everybody has fallen short of the glory of God. Isn't that right? People continue to sin every day. That's why you need a savior. Am I right? Like, that's part of Christianity. I'm understanding this correctly, right? So tell me again, please, how lying and all of that stuff is particularly useful for Christians, because whether or not you lie, you're still going to heaven because you believe in Jesus. You're already forgiven of those sins. Again, where is the accountability? Because I'm not seeing it.
And when he clears that internet browsing history, he'd prefer to think that no one has a separate record of his actions.
Just a little bit of a pro tip there, Bibles and barbell guy. Modern browsers have incognito mode where you don't have to worry about your history being stored. Of course, that doesn't control your ISP collecting it, NSA, or anybody else that could be watching your internet traffic. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. But if you're just worried about the history, I'd suggest just whenever you're looking up something you don't want other people to see, like weird midget porn that I'm sure that you like to look up on. Wait, no, let's see. He's in Texas. They like lesbian porn. When you pull up, Pornhub, and you look for lesbian porn there in Texas, just use incognito mode, bro. I'm just saying.
And I'm not talking about the NSA.
Because the NSA cares about your porn history there, buddy.
Have you ever been in one of those timeshare sales pitches where they lure you into a tour with free booze and then get you in a high-pressure situation to sign for the timeshare?
I mean, honestly, this last guy there that he was using as like a meme or something, he just looked like he was having fun. I mean, have you ever had that fun? Like, you're just out at the beach and you just you waste like a $12 like premium beer and everything like that dude just looks like he's having fun. I don't know why he's got to put him in here as if it's something bad. I feel like there's a bad connotation here, but again, so the whole timeshare thing, I've been in one of those and we definitely didn't get like free booze. Like, I don't know which timeshare place is giving away free booze. What we did get was a discount on a room at a resort. And I say resort loosely because it really was just a big hotel that had a little bit of fancy pool stuff in the back. But so it was a discounted room that we got and a discounted stay at the resort. And we did get into a high pressure situation. So yes, I definitely know what you're talking about here.
Our guy, the zero accountability for his private actions, is the free tequila that lures him in.
Well, there's no zero accountability for like atheism, or becoming an atheist. Like that's not a draw. Like if there was a draw as far as zero accountability goes, I feel like it would go the opposite direction to Christianity. I feel like Christianity has plenty of zero accountability motive. I mean, think about it. Like one of the Christian lines is that there's no sin too big that God can't forgive except for the one, which is where you reject Jesus. Right? It's the only sin that can't be forgiven, or blaspheming the Holy Spirit or something like that. And so no sin is too big. So you become a Christian and your sins are automatically absolved because you're sucking Jesus' dick, right? And so where's the accountability in that? You're not being held accountable to anything. Remember, I know I quoted this earlier, but we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, as the book would say. You continue to sin even today. I mean, your very existence, under some understandings in Christianity, is a sin because you were born with original sin. And so because you're born with original sin, you constantly need a savior. You constantly need to beg for forgiveness because you're constantly sinning. And so where's the accountability? If you're going to equate what God likes and what God doesn't like with morality or living a moral lifestyle, then I would say that there's literally no accountability in Christianity. So the zero accountability motive, the zero accountability liquor there, it's definitely pouring from the Christian side of the bar.
And the atheism is the questionable at best agreement for which he just signed on the dotted line.
There was no contract or agreement whenever I became an atheist. I just pretty much stopped believing. So I don't know how this equates to signing some kind of ironclad contract. Not only that, but it's got to be the loosest fucking contract that exists, because atheists hold many, many different positions, and there's many different cliques and all this other shit that exists in the atheist community. I can't fathom a more diverse community out there. I mean, at least I know Christianity has a lot of denominations, but I mean, you could probably group those into a bunch of different groups. But I mean, atheists are free to roam wherever they want to philosophically. I mean, as long as it doesn't include like believing in God, because then you're just not definitionally an atheist anymore if you believe in God. So, I mean...
And let's not even get into who's handing our guy the agreement in this metaphor.
So, Dude Bro here thinks that Satan is handing atheists a contract. So atheism is driven by Satan, because apparently Satan has the shot of tequila that's zero accountability. It's like, just sign on the dotted line and you get free tequila. I mean, Paul the Gia would probably sign up for some free tequila. I mean, I don't know, but tequila's not my thing. I like whiskey personally. He's got a better shot of luring me in with like Jack Daniel's triple mash or some Chattanooga whiskey. That wouldn't work on me. But you know, the whole idea of Satan providing this contract with atheism, or somehow Satan being behind atheism, that's some magical fucking thinking right there. I don't even know what to say to that, because it's conspiratorial thinking, it's magical thinking. Like, atheism has nothing to do with Satan. But I feel like this is all meant to demonize the atheist position, to demonize those that hold the atheist position. It's more of this toxic masculinity that's seeping through in this video.
Now he's an atheist and wants you to know it's definitely not because of the tequila. I mean, zero accountability.
Well, I mean, no, it's not, because accountability doesn't just go away. Like, I could see Christians saying that, well, Christians are also held accountable to like their society and their community and everything like that, which I think is a bit debatable, but let's just say a Christian made that argument. Atheists are also accountable to those things as well. And if you really wanted to rephrase what this guy is saying here, he's saying, well, they're not accountable to my God anymore. You just add my God onto a lot of these statements. Like, they don't care about their actions and how they affect my God. I don't have any accountability to your God. Yeah, right. I don't have any accountability to their God. That doesn't mean I don't have accountability. Like, he is in a very God-centered mind, because a lot of Christians out there, like Protestant Christianity and probably some Catholics, they believe in keeping God at the forefront of everything. If you're not doing something for God, then you shouldn't be doing it. And so that's why he thinks that zero accountability to his God can just be boiled down to zero accountability. Because if you're not doing shit for his God, then you shouldn't be doing it.
But what does his weakness have to do with it? Well, it seeps into all of his decision making. He's the kind of guy who will pay someone to assemble his IKEA furniture because these fingers were just made for typing. And that's a real quote from a software developer that I used to work with.
I mean, I sincerely doubt that software developer was like being serious about that. Like, these fingers are made for typing. And also, I don't think that it's wrong if you want to get somebody else to assemble your IKEA fucking furniture. Like, that has no bearing on whether or not you're a weak individual or you have a weak constitution or anything like that. That's just not wanting to fucking deal with the headache of putting together a goddamn IKEA dresser. Like, that has nothing to say about you as a person. Although this guy right here seems like he'd be the kind of dude bro to be like, I can do anything, and then he tries to like build a brick wall and it just ends up looking fucked up. Knowing your limitations and also being able to manage your time is a valuable skill. I know my limitations. Like, for instance, I have elected to pay somebody to mow my lawn. That's not because I can't do it. I've done it since I was 12. It's because of the fact that whenever I do the lawn, my sugar drops so low, I end up vomiting all over the place, and it drops low, and I end up having to chug a whole bunch of sugar or something, either some kind of sugary drink or eat a bunch of candy or something like that, because my blood glucose is low. Happens every single time whenever I do a lot of intense activity. And so the first year that I was in our new house, I mowed the lawn. But last year, I decided to pay someone to do it because I didn't feel like having to fuck around with that bullshit. Does that say that I'm a weak person? Do I have a weak constitution about me because I elected to pay somebody to mow my yard because I am physically prevented in some cases from doing it? No, I know my limitations. I know that it's better for me to pay someone to do that. And I'm in a pretty good position where I can pay somebody to do that.
Without help, could he defend himself? Or cultivate food? Or walk a mile with a backpack full of all his Harry Potter books?
So I kind of feel like maybe we're going to get into some areas where this guy just obviously doesn't understand a lot of shit. If somebody is weak, can they defend themselves? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Why does it matter? When am I ever going to get into a fucking sword fight, right? I'm ever going to be in an actual fight with somebody? I feel like there are bigger problems at play with me being in a fight, me putting myself into that position. Also, there's always a bigger fish out there, figuratively speaking. So even this dude right here could get fucking slapped in the face and taken for what he's worth. I don't see how this is a gauge of strength or anything like that. Would somebody be able to defend themselves? Why would they need to? But then he also states something about cultivating like land and everything like that. If he's envisioning some apocalypse type of scenario, I feel like people are pretty well to adapt to whatever situation. And if a person can't cultivate, then they can provide other ways to contribute to the community that they're living in. That's not the only way in order to contribute to your community is by fucking cultivating cabbage. And then finally, the thing about the Harry Potter books, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about here. And also, I don't think that this guy really remembers high school. And I mean, he would probably call me a weak person because I'm, an atheist and everything, and he knows literally nothing about me. So it totally makes sense for this douchebag to assume that about me. But I mean, I remember in high school, I had to carry like a lot of books. My son doesn't have to carry those now, and I'm glad that he doesn't. What makes it strong about a person to carry a lot of shit on their back? Like, why would we need that? Like, why is this a gauge of how strong you are in general? Like, I don't understand any of this.
Our guy has sunk into a comfortable reliance on others and is confusing his incapability with affluence.
Again, it's not that these people are incapable. And also, notice the anecdote part of this. Like, this is all anecdotal. And so it literally proves nothing. This is just a story he's concocted in his mind. He's made up this fantasy about an atheist. Maybe it's an atheist that he used to be. He used to feel incapable of doing things. Him portraying atheists as being incapable is rather ironic, considering I feel like this guy in particular is incapable of thinking for himself and coming to his own conclusions. He has to get God to think for him. Also, why is it bad to be well off? Like, they're confusing incapability with affluence. Like, so the guy he was talking about, the software developer, he thinks that guy was incapable of putting the IKEA desk or whatever together. And so he paid somebody. That's being affluent. And he was using that to mask his incapability. But you don't know that. You can't know that that guy couldn't put that together. He just opted to pay somebody in that anecdotal situation. That says nothing about whether or not he's a weak person. He just didn't want to fuck around with IKEA.
Now imagine, our guy decides to start following Jesus, and now he's at odds with many of those same people that he relied on.
He's at odds with them? Why would you have to be at odds with anybody for becoming a Christian? Like, becoming a Christian is one of the most common things in the United States. Like, in the United States, even with the nuns category, that would just be people that don't officially consider themselves part of a organized religion. Even with them, there are people that believe in God, believe in Jesus and all that. So that it's the most common belief in the United States. What is fucking hard about that? There's nothing hard about being a Christian.
These days, he probably wouldn't die if this happens, but he might lose favor with his boss or coworkers at the soy milk factory.
What's wrong with the soy milk factory? I mean, I don't drink soy milk myself, although being a diabetic, I do have to drink more low-carb options like almond milk or any of the other alternates that I could choose for any kind of milk that I would need. I don't understand why it's bad to prefer soy milk. Also, if you become a Christian, why does that have to affect your work relationships? I'm an atheist and it doesn't affect my work relationships, and like everybody that I work with is a Christian. I'm not at odds with them. Why is it that if you become a Christian, you automatically have to become at odds with everybody else that's not Christian? You could just be fucking reasonable and not have an issue with them. You could be fucking reasonable and not try to push your faith on them. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is that this guy feels like part of Christianity, baked into Christian faith, is this inherent need to push your faith on other people and to demonize those that are not part of your faith. Maybe that's what he thinks. I don't know.
Or he might lose friendships or favor with the girls in his gender studies class.
A lot of people that would be taking those classes could also be a Christian. I mean, progressive Christianity is very progressive on women's rights and the rights of the LGBTQ demographic. So they could be a Christian and in a gender studies class. But also, I don't see how a gender studies class would make you weak. I mean, I personally, in the area that I'm in and the interests that I have, don't see the point in me taking a gender studies course. So you know what I do? I don't fucking take the course. I don't chastise other people for taking the course because they want to. If they want to, fine, I don't give a fuck. But this guy right here would rather characterize people that take courses like gender studies courses as weak because he views them as weak. And I feel like that's probably a little bit of misogyny baked in along with the toxic masculinity. This entire video just fucking reeks of toxic masculinity and misogyny.
Those fears of lost social connection and support would probably prevent him from even considering something like following Jesus.
The thing, just to let anybody that might be watching this know that is a Christian, the thing that keeps me from following Jesus is the fact that I don't think, especially the gospel version of Jesus, doesn't exist and that he can't exist. The gospel version of Jesus, very specifically the gospel version of Jesus, he can't exist because he's magical. And for all that we know, magic doesn't exist. That's what prevents me, the fact that he doesn't exist and the shit in the Bible didn't happen. That's why I don't believe it.
He'd tell himself that the group's atheistic position was actually what he thought all along.
Well, considering when I became an atheist, I thought long and hard about it. I really weighed the options there. I weighed the evidence. I listened to atheist arguments and I listened to Christian arguments, and the atheist arguments were stronger. Nobody pushed me into it, and I don't feel beholden to the atheist position, because if you were to prove to me with sufficient evidence that God does exist and it's specifically Yahweh of the Bible, then I would believe that God existed. As far as following Jesus goes, I don't know about that. You'd have to provide some pretty heavy evidence there in order for me to do that. But I mean, I'm just saying here, like, there's no like forcing people into atheism. The position doesn't force you to go into it, or there's no like, oh, well, they think that the atheist position is actually their idea. It's like, you actually have to be convinced that God probably doesn't exist, or that there's no reason to believe in a God, at least. Like, that takes a conscious decision right there. Like, oh, I'm not convinced by all this, so I probably shouldn't believe. Like, that is literally using your own cognitive abilities to come to a conclusion based on the evidence. What more can you ask for? And I don't mean this as if to say atheists are the only ones capable of this. If you are a Christian and you've thoughtfully weighed out the options and the arguments, and you have come out on the side of believing in Jesus and in Christianity, that's fine. You have employed the same kind of thought process there that I have. And I'm perfectly fine with you coming to that conclusion. And I don't have, like, I'm not going to sit there and dog you, shit on you, or anything like that, or try to characterize you in a negative way. But if you start trying to tell me, well, you should really become a Christian because you're an immoral fuck if you don't, then I'm gonna have problems with you. Like, that's where the problems start in.
Jesus said, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it."
It may not surprise him or you, but I really don't give a fuck what Jesus says. I don't care. I've heard it. I've read it multiple times. I don't give a fuck. You and your magical space wizard there can fuck off.
That broad road is like a water park's lazy river with a strong but comfortable current that keeps many weak men gliding along.
What's wrong with the lazy river? Lazy rivers are fucking relaxing and fun as shit. You're trying to tell me this motherfucker right here won't get in a lazy river because he doesn't have to struggle with it? If you gotta be in a lazy river and struggle with it, swim in the opposite direction, you shit, and you can still enjoy it. Or better yet, go to the fucking Olympic pool and do whatever kind of fucking gymnastics you can do with a 2x4 sticking out of your ass. I'm sorry, I'm really perturbed by the shitting on the lazy river. The lazy river is just really relaxing and enjoyable, and I don't know why anybody has to use it as a pejorative for weak people.
To their destruction. So, if you're too weak to assemble that IKEA bed, you're probably also too weak to have a thought that goes against the herd.
This is really funny that he's saying this about atheists, because it's literally the opposite thing. Atheists had to have a thought that goes against the herd in order to become an atheist. And religious people, to be accepted into the religious group, has to just accept what the herd thinks. Like, it's projection on a level of just fucking crazy. Because look, can this guy have like an honest, genuine, novel idea about God? Or does he have to follow what his religion tells him? Does he have to follow what the Bible tells him? Now, you could make some nuanced arguments that, oh, well, Christians come up with, novel arguments using the Bible all the time. And I mean, I guess that's true. Like, it's not that they always follow the herd, but as far as what this guy is purporting here, like the position that he's actually going for, he's asking people to literally fall in line with the herd. People that have left the herd, that have made the hard decision to stop believing in God and to be open and out about it. He wants them to just fall back in line while at the same time saying, oh, well, you just want to follow the herd. What fucking herd, you dipshit?
Many guys just wimp out and adjust their thinking to match the group instead of doing the harder thing, which is to claw their way out of weakness into a position of physical and mental strength.
Because this guy's being a dipshit about this entire thing, you could definitely make an argument that it's actually the Christians that don't want to claw their way out of their faith. Because I would definitely characterize leaving the faith, like examining the evidence, questioning the authority of the Bible and God. That's climbing the mountain. That's not like following Jesus. Like, it doesn't take shit to follow Jesus. I mean, the things that you can do as an atheist are the exact same things that you can do as a Christian. It's just that as a Christian, you got to feel guilty about it and you got to ask for forgiveness, and then it's all fine. Whereas the atheist is held accountable to his family, friends, community, and all that other kind of good shit. It's not to say that Christians aren't also held accountable to that, but more importantly, the core of the Christian belief doesn't require you to be held accountable to your friends, family, and community. And that's been shown in multiple ways throughout, history. So yes, leaving the faith is a mountain climb. It's hard, it's difficult, and when you get to the top, maybe you feel like you can't breathe and you're scared of still going to hell and all this other stuff. Like, those are literal things that atheists deal with. Christians don't have to do that.
So don't wimp out. Get stronger. Get under the barbell. It'll change how you think, improve your confidence, improve your health. Wait, you already know all that stuff. Stop making excuses. Stop procrastinating and go lift.
Yeah, you see, I mean, he's just saying go lift. Like, he's just trying to invigorate people Christians rather. It's just trying to invigorate Christians to, one, reject atheism, thinking that it's some kind of evil pact with the devil. Two, you need to start lifting weights and get strong just like him, because he can't handle the idea of other people having different goals in their life other than lifting weights all the time. And then three, he also can't handle the idea of atheists existing in the first place. Also, elements of toxic masculinity and misogyny and all this other shit is baked into all of those things.
You might even realize that the atheism timeshare you purchased isn't so great, and the tequila you drank, the zero accountability, actually made you pretty sick.
You know what really makes me sick? Fucking reading the Bible. Like, that's some nasty shit. It shouldn't be something that everybody reads. Like, I read it because I need to know, what Christians are saying, like, as far as teaching in Christianity in order to refute videos like this. I mean, I really don't think that people should, be either forced or have to, or should really care about reading the Bible. That shit is just nasty.
So men, it may sound strange, but you might just find your way to the foot of the cross by getting out of the herd and getting under the barbell.
That was really dumb. Also, obviously, he's only speaking to men here again. I don't know why. Like, women weightlifters don't exist. I don't know why. Like, this seems like an unnecessarily misogynistic thing. Like, I don't think that you've got to be gendered about this at all. Just say, people. It just seems really weird to exclude women from this. I feel like this is one of those red flags. Like, this is a red flag. The toxic masculinity, the misogyny, and all that. There's a red flag that you should just ward you off from this particular dude, bro.
I hope you find your way there.
I do have to say that the logo that they got for this Bibles and barbells and shit, that's actually pretty cool, like, icon. I'll give them that. They got a cool icon that has a lot of misogyny and toxic masculinity baked into it. That's going to be it for me today, heathens. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go down below and let me know what you thought about it. Do you think that this guy made some good points about atheism? Is atheism a product of the devil? Did we sign a blood pact with the devil? I mean, obviously not. But let me know what you thought about all of his bullshit down below. While you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of video. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.